now in Web3, a lot of things happen around incentivization, right? Not exactly fulfilling the needs sometimes, just fulfilling economical needs in some sense. So, how do that particular culture came into being, and is it harmful for a community? Is it good for a community? And how does it generally affect a community? What's your take on that?
It depends, depending upon which stage that particular community is. It depends upon, there are so many different moving pieces to that when you mentioned about this particular thing, right? It
Mm-hmm.
depends upon the organizer, who is that. It depends
Mm-hmm.
upon the stage of community, whether it's an initial one, it's a matured one, or is it somewhere intermediate in between, figuring out their path. Because even
Right.
community needs to figure out what they stand for. Usually, like if you see, there are these Web3 meetups happening out there. People usually gather, talk about different things, different products they are building, and then they go back home. Then on the
Mm-hmm.
other end, there are communities where people build things. They gather over there, they try to build something, showcase over there, and then they go back home. Then
Mm-hmm.
there are third one, which is like a marketing centric community. If you are doing things in marketing and creating a huge buzz around, definitely you need money for that and you need to figure out things. So as a community
Right.
leader, if anyone is leading community, I think we should ask ourselves whether that
Mm-hmm.
money is required at the very first place. Because the thing happens is when we started focusing more on the transactional aspect of things instead of learning, the community
Mm-hmm.
tried to bend in that particular manner. And
Mm-hmm.
after a while, it's so we have to also see things from a long term manner, whether doing these sort of things are sustainable or not. So tomorrow, if you are not there and you are the one who are figuring out these grants and all from this XYZ organization which exists in the ecosystem, and
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow if that person is not there, what will happen next? Would the community would be self-sustaining? Would they would be learning
Mm-hmm.
from each other? Would whether the peer-to-peer learning will happen or not? So whenever
Right.
I personally design community or I talk to people, the first thing is peer-to-peer learning. Second thing is voluntary and active contribution, whether that is happening or not. All these
Mm-hmm.
rewards and recognition will come eventually at a date,
Right.
because when your community will be self-sustaining, it will grow eventually organically. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
focus more on ads and all those sort of things, the budget you
Right.
need for. So you have to
Right.
ask yourself, if you're asking for X, Y, or Z resources, what exactly this is for,
Mm-hmm.
whether it is worth the ROI, whether it's worth the investment in your community.
Right.
What you need, like you, if you want that money to put up a large party, or you want to put up that money to throw a boot camp where you are putting up things and then people building dApps is something which is happening over there. So like there are different things, different
Mm-hmm.
stages, different needs, and accordingly those sort of thing varies as per that. So yeah.
Right. One thing in like Web3 you mentioned earlier as well was the Web3 moves very fast, right? And
True.
to move fast, this incentivization was figured out. This incentivization was needed, right? Um, but now, when actually it will slow down, definitely it will slow down after a while, not now, maybe 2, 3 years down the lane or something. What will happen to such communities? What do you think might be a way to actually sustain them, or is there a way to sustain them, or is it something that they'll die because of low incentivization in general?
I think incentivization should never be the motive of running a community, because if we are thinking in that manner,
Mm-hmm.
eventually in a long term way, one day or the other, your money reserve will deplete and get over. And what will
Right.
happen after that? So one should think yourself whether that is happening or not. I
Mm-hmm.
tried running communities with almost next to $0 investment, running these
Mm-hmm.
things organically, and scaled it to some numbers
Mm-hmm.
without even investing a single money. Canva is free of cost. Google Docs is free of cost. If we are doing live stream, it's free of cost. Though there's a cost associated with internet, which is
Mm-hmm.
okay and valid. And all those sort of things are there in online world. In the last 2 3 years, we were doing that. Prior to
Right.
that, even if when we were doing these offline meetups and things like that, a lot of co-working spaces, incubators were welcoming enough to host these community meetups and provide free F&B.
Mm-hmm.
And at times, companies provide merchandise as well. So over there,
Mm-hmm.
the incentivization versus reward approach is different. So both of these things are different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pulling in money to run communities versus running communities organically so that they can grow and sustain themselves. So
Right.
suppose if you know somebody someone who is providing you monetary support. If someone else wants to do that, he will also start thinking in that way. But if you are a voluntary, like the way open source work, right? The way Wikipedia works, like all these sort of community approach is something which is the ideal one, long-term one, scalable one. So we can learn a lot from that side of world as well in terms of why people contribute to Wikipedia, because they are so much motivated enough. There's this crowdsource community which exists where people contribute because they love their language and they want to improve this ML models, right? So yeah.
Makes sense. Definitely makes sense.